the Ursa. So they didn't have a way of dealing with that. And again, you have the Oracle to make it simpler to get that done. IG with the DK, they still have a lot of value there. I think Emo performed pretty spectacularly. Honestly, him and JT were the ones really keeping IG in that game. He was always on top of the right targets with a stun. So if it is going to be Emo DK, I think the performance is going to be really solid. It does give you decent timing still with a push, and of course it scales nicely with the Ags, but they really do have to play it faster. I want to see a much faster pause 1 come out from IG, maybe a pause 5 that plays around that kind of timings as well. They go back to Mirana, so you have better setup with the Centaur this time, and of course that laning presence is still great, but RNG, it's their turn to start pumping the illusions out. They go with the Terrorblade.
You know, this Terrorblade pick is a bit weird for me, right? Because we've seen the Terrorblade coming out quite a lot in this league, and I think it's only won once. Every other time we've seen it, it has just lost, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Naga Siren in the sense that it just needs so much time to be effective as a hero. It needs a great item build up on quite a few levels, and it just concerns me. Like, I love the fact that it's a very high armor hero, and when you look at IG, they don't really have the craziest amount of magic damage. But at the same time, are you going to be able to buy that space?
I reckon they should be able to. You would want to see what the mid hero will be for RNG, but with this kind of draft, just with the Tusk, Oracle, and the Pango, I think you do have the space creators you need for RNG's draft. What I am heavily concerned for with IG is that not only is this a Terrorblade, it's a Terrorblade with Oracle. I think that's the only time, that's some of the most effective times for the Terrorblade is when you have that Oracle to really push the limits on your Sunder and your Sunder timings. It basically gives you nearly 3 lives if you play your cards right. So there's a lot of durability here in play for RNG, and that does kind of tie in with their earlier ban on the AA. They wanted this kind of game style to come out again. IG doesn't quite have the answers. You do have some natural Spirit Vessel carriers in this case. I'd say maybe the Roaming Mirana would opt for that, but you would want to see that item come out simply to mitigate that sustain that RNG will be playing around.
One more ban, and we'll get to see how they close these drafts off. I'm getting a bit scared for IG, John. Are they going to go into Naga again? Like, it can't happen again, right? They can't.
Honestly,
surely not. Because they got the.
They shouldn't.
Why I'm saying this is because they went the DK, they went the Mirana again. I understand the opening duo is different in the Grimstroke Centaur, but surely you wouldn't go down that route a second time.
They shouldn't, but you have the Centaur, so the temptation is there. You know, we know that combination comes out a lot. RNG, go into the Invoker. So we're so used to seeing Emo play that Invoker. It's been a while since he played it, actually, but RNG, having that hero now, you have all these heroes that don't need as much time, especially Invoker. Like, you can play it farm heavy. The tendency has been much faster playstyle with just a rush into a Spirit Vessel and being active on the map. That will buy space for our Terrorblade. IG has to be ready for that playstyle. They have to be able to maybe ignore these run-ins from RNG. They don't have the best push outside of their Terrorblade. So when RNG is forcing these fights without the Metamorphosis Terrorblade, they know that they can hunt down more than likely Monet and punish the Terrorblade while he's alone. I think that's the key thing for IG to make this kind of draft work and shut down RNG, regardless of what their last pick is. That's the game plan coming out here. That's what they need to get done.
Gotta admit that Invoke is another hero that doesn't bring me much confidence. We saw it yesterday, I believe, from Somnus, and it was just... It's not like Somnus was playing bad, it's just the hero is quite bad. I like the fact that they have a natural Spirit Vessel carrier, I'll admit that. I think that's quite nice. I think the Tornado is nice up against the Stampede of the Centaur. Do I like anything else about the Invoker? I don't know. Maybe Setsu shows us something that we haven't seen in a while.
I think it has potency. It's really down to the lane. Like, Dragonite up against Invoker isn't actually too scary for Invoker. That's why I think it's pretty okay here. IG does close out with the Morph, so there's a lot of heroes to morph into that can boost you up here. Morphing into the Terrorblade, getting Metamorphosis for yourself does sound a bit ridiculous, so you have a lot of value there. Of course, it's an issue of timing still for IG. Morphling does require that investment to get big. You need the E-Blade, and you need a lot more beyond that if you want to maintain that game. So you have tools from RNG to mitigate that shotgun as well. You have the Oracle to just take away that magic damage. So Emo has to be really quick, maybe prioritize finding Super first, and then cleaning up the fight afterwards.
Interesting, though, to go for that Morphling, and you saw IG take quite a while to make that pickup. Of course, you want to morph into the Terrorblade and get the Metamorphosis, but you do give even more value now for the Spirit Vessel Carrier, which should be Zetsu. So maybe that's why IG took so long to make that pick happen. Generally speaking, you don't want to pick up... I guess in any case, you could always get a Spirit Vessel anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But you also kind of chose it into a natural Eye of Skadi carrier in the Terrorblade. So
Yeah.
That's what... IG clearly thought that through. And we'll see what they can pull off in game number 2. It should be fun. A couple different heroes coming out. Nothing wrong with that. It's what we love to see.
Yeah, I'm just worried about the Fate's Edict throwing that Morphling off. Like, the magic resist will just make that E-Blade negligible if you're not shooting your targets right. And as long as Super is on point. Now, it is a bit tricky, but Super made the Lich look really, really beastly, so I wouldn't be too surprised if he can get his timings with the magic damage block here.
Oh, I have zero doubt about Super. I have absolutely zero doubt after game number 1.
The one good thing for IG...
Yes.
The one good thing for IG this time around is that the lanes are looking a lot more aggressive. So you've got JT, he's on the Centaur. Of course, you have Kaka and the Mirana. I think this kind of setup is much more potent, especially at level 1. If you're going for that tri-lane first blood, you have the Stomp, you have the Inkswell, you have the Arrow potentially coming out. So a lot of really good stuns, really easy setup for the Mirana this time around, and really soft targets in Monet. He's not that tanky.
Super. Fortune's End gonna fly it onto Kaka, but he has plenty of help around.
30 seconds to battle.
And that'll be the end of that. IG seems like they wanted to try and attempt a first blood with an early arrow, but not gonna happen, so Kaka starts rotating already. Still got a chance. He is sticking around a little bit. Just on the staircase. Nah, he won't go for anything.
The battle begins.
Yeah, it's going to be an even rune trade. Not too much excitement. I think that's down to the fact that RNG understands IG does have much stronger heroes at level 1 now. So there's a lot more presence here for IG that is going to make RNG play safer. And the fact that you have this Terrorblade that you really have to play around the timing well. It's not like an Ursa where Ursa can kind of afford a couple of losses because he can trade any time. Terrorblade has that Metamorphosis timing that you have to worry about. So that's something RNG has to put under heavy consideration.
We see a very early bit of harassment from September onto Emo. Emo will just kind of throw it back his way. See Flywind there on the offlane, Pangalia up against Emo and Ollie. We've been seeing a lot of Pango as of late, with mixed results. They just kind of drop off after a while. Like, Rolling Thunder's always good, but apart from that, Swashbuckle kind of doesn't do quite as much once you get to the mid to late game. We'll see what Flywind does with it. We haven't had the pleasure of seeing his Pangalia yet, as Setsu goes for a nice little tornado in the mid lane, but it's a Dragon Knight after all. Like, the possibilities of killing this Dragon Knight really isn't there unless we see a rotation from maybe the Tusk.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be happening for a while. I think the tendency for RNG is to just leave that mid lane alone unless you see IG commit. That's when they respond, but they're not too proactive in those rotations, and I think in this case they're fine. Like, trading farm with a DK, as long as your Invoker gets all that good free farm mid, you're okay with the DK just surviving. You know, it's just fine there.
I love the fact that we see, Super might be in a bit of trouble. Kaka I think he wanted to leap forward onto Super, but unfortunately goes to the side. I don't believe he would have had the damage anyway to take the Oracle out, so it wouldn't have mattered too much. Super does salve up afterwards.
Dire's top tower
Another arrow though, JT. It was too short of a stun. He can still find the hoof stomp and does get it. Super gonna fall very low. Fortune's End will fly out. Still trying to run. One more hit will do it from JT. Can Super actually kite him out enough?
No.
JT's gonna take a fair few tower hits. Now the fog. This is when you
No.
could, but no, he can't. JT just chops the tree down, gets the kill.
That was a pretty good juke out from Super. Of course, just wasting a lot of time there. They're not slowing down Monet by chasing that Oracle, so that is time bought for the Terrorblade, although the laning phase has been a bit rough. 7-0 compared to our Centaurs 11-4. And that's really just down to the fact that Metamorphosis is not always up.
Because this is pretty standard stuff for the Terrorblade. Like, usually what we do see is he goes 2 or 3 Wraith Bands and they just rotate jungle. You know, it seems like every game that is the story of the Terrorblade's lane. Just get some Wraith Bands, run into the jungle. You're going to lose your T1 tower anyway. No real point sticking around and copying all this harassment that'll be coming out from IG.
Yeah,
Meta pop, Fortune's End going to fly out. And September, he rotates, but the arrow does connect. They are going to be able to pick up JT regardless with that tag team. Nice rotation from September.
Yeah, just giving Monet a little bit more value from that Metamorphosis. I think that's what RNG will look to do in this laning phase. Constantly try to apply pressure while they have power in that Terrorblade. This does mean they're leaving that bot lane alone. So you do get a lot more farm onto Emo, currently top of the last hits board, and there's really not much Flywind can do here, except for try to get a pull and get some farm and EXP for himself.
Well, I thought he was trying to just double stack the wave, but he actually has ended up pulling it away. Which I suppose is still perfectly fine.
I'm a brawler in his prime.
But Emo is controlling his own wave very, very well. Flywind. Gonna drag the Radiant Creep wave around and just gonna try and lock it in front of his tier 1 tower and reset the lane.
And this is
Ollie's
gonna give
stick around.
it's gonna give Emo a really good start. 27-13, basically free farm on the Morphling. We talk about the Morphling having a bit of a weaker laning phase, but when you let it free farm like this, that transition to an early E-Blade is gonna be pretty fast for Emo.
JT. Fortune's End will fly out. September does have a double damage rune, but now gets arrowed up. Double edge comes out. Nice snowball to the neutrals. And he may barely get away. In fact, he is outrunning Karka, but more leap charges to come out, and he does eventually end up going down. Super, though, is still chasing with Monet, but they are just going to commit to the bounty rune, and that'll be enough of that.
Yeah, rather unfortunate they're not finding the kills for their Tusk. I think maybe ease off on that aggression while Metamorphosis is down. You really want that up to get the damage on. Even with a double damage rune on your Tusk, Centaur is a pretty tanky target to go for. Oh, Monet.
In a bit of trouble. Fortune's End flying out. Monet is very low, but September will be there with the snowball. And now it's a tri-lane versus tri-lane situation between these two teams up at the top lane. And you can afford to do this if you are IG, though. Like, you know Emo's freely farming. Flywind can't really slow him down any longer. In fact, Emo's going to be the one being aggressive down at this bot. Flywind going for a bit of a run. Meanwhile, top lane, I believe Monet is dropping low, but JT drops lower. They both end up going down as the supports are the ones cleaning up, and now Super getting caught by an arrow. Inkswell there from JT. They'll wait it out. Snowball is there just in case. September almost dies with a stroke of fate, but it will not be enough.
Yeah, you are seeing a lot more from IG to dictate this laning phase, and Kaka's been super effective on this Mirana, just forcing September up here. I think the very presence of September up top has meant that, you know, Emo gets a free run. They get to try to melt this tower with level 6 on fly as well, so they are applying all that map pressure that you were looking for from IG in Game 1.
Fly is gonna eventually not have the dragon form left. We'll back off to the mid lane. Gotta say, Setsu has been doing very, very well in that mid lane with farm. Currently 39 and 9. And got the earn up. going probably directly into that Spirit Vessel after that Urn. You know, once that Spirit Vessel's up as well, like, you really can start making dives on onto the DK and the Morphling, and even the Centaur. It's just so much easier once you've got those active charges.
It's really valuable for RNG to have that tool, and the fact that Setsu is already starting to rotate, as he is right now, does mean that they are looking to play active with this early pickup, at least on the Urn.
Well, you are Quas Wex, so you definitely want to be earlier. Like, I don't think you want to wait this out too long. Kaka gonna take one auto attack, and now the Tornado EMP does fly out. He does not get the leap off in time thanks to the Cold Snap. Setsu, he might be able to pick up this kill, and does. And now the Snowball comes out. Ollie, he does have Inkswell at least, but the shards are going to block him in, and Setsu does get a double kill on the Invoker. A great rotation, and he TPs directly back into the mid lane straight after.
It's really what you need to get done with that Invoker, right? You pick up the Urn, you need kills. You can't quite burn the DK, but you have teammates up top, you have decent information in that rune area. You find a kill, you dip back in, and suddenly you have 2 charges in lane. You have a good amount of EXP in yourself, and you kind of force the DK to try to rotate himself. He has a double damage on Fly, so they could do some damage in this tier 1 down bot. Flyman does just run away.
Is under attack. Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Bot lane, they're going to start forcing in that T1 with that double damage active. Going to be fairly easy for them. The Dragon Form does wear off, but that's not going to matter. Fly does pick it up.
Bottom tower has fallen.
You'd love to see the same coming out from the side of RNG up at this top lane, but they just don't have the same kind of heroes that can really force these towers in early. RNG going to be much more focused on just farming.
Terrorblade can kind of melt towers, but you really don't want to do that with your early Metamorphosis. And you can actually tell by Monet's build, he's maxing out Conjure first, so just wants a little bit more presence in that lane and a little bit more value from the illusions. Not as much coming out from his meta, and with the state of the lane, that's really the only way he can get it done, right? Like, he can't tie himself up too much to just Metamorphosis. He wants a little bit more from the images to help him last hit and help him tank through some hits.
Setsu gonna soak some nice XP away from JT. Tornado EMP again being thrown out with the Cold Snap, and now the Urn. Still not on a Spirit Vessel, so it probably won't be enough to take JT out. Fair bit of damage, but he should be able to passively heal that up, although Setsu goes back in now with the Ghost Form. Ollie.
Dire structures.
A very easy target on Monet, indicates he wants it as he does start diving the tier 1 tower. This is around that 10-minute bounty rune mark, and Ollie gonna go for a TP play. Where's the vision?
Oh,
Monet just didn't see him, and Moonlight Shadow was there anyway, and now they look to turn it around again. Ollie, he only TP'd back towards his tier 2 tower, so RNG aren't expecting this. They do put a sentry ward down. They do still have the Metamorphosis, so IG, maybe they're the ones who need it back. Snowball and Kaka, he does die again on the Mirana. And Setsu's not done. He has Tornado up. He may want to try for one more, but no, he does back off to mid.
Is under attack.
And you know what, John? While all this has been happening, Emo is forcing in the bottom tier 2.
and this is exactly what IG wants. They play as 4, they give Emo all the space. RNG is biting the bait quite hard. And you've got this Morphling now who has Power Treads, a good build up into the Yasha, a Morbid Mask up and running. This is just going to mean that Emo is going to have a lot of leeway in terms of farming around the jungle, and easy build up into whatever build he decides to go for. I'm not sure exactly if he will still go shotgun. I think he will, probably after that Yasha, but you're still looking at a morph that's getting way too much farm in the map. Although, September.
Walrus Punch. Fly one going to rotate. They do commit the Rolling Thunder. There is a waveform now available, but Cold Snap holding him in place and no mana left with Setsu's EMP. This is a huge pickup, and nobody's going to be there to help out Emo. And that'll actually allow the Spirit Vessel to come out now on Setsu. RNG have bided their time long enough. It looks like they may be able to be even more aggressive now.
They need to be a bit more aggressive, mainly because their Terrorblade is so far behind. You compare the net worth of Monet to Emo, it's not even close. It's a good lead from our Morph, and Monet's jungle is just kind of invaded with his top lane push, so he has to swap out. The key thing for Monet is that even with the Manta style, that might not be enough. Like, compare that to Emo, of course, he's gonna go into the E-Blade. Once you have that, he kicks into gear, but I feel like the Terrorblade does require a lot more commitment there.
Well, JT now going to get caught out by Setsu, and Flywin immediately there with the rotation. Arrow connects on the Pango, but it does not matter. JT just melts, and now what a shot's coming out from September. The Kaka has 2 lead charges. There's no point chasing his Emo now. Going to chase down Super. False Promise immediately committed an Emo. He used Waveform for that, so he may take a fair bit of damage from Monet, but the Moonlight Shadow is there. And actually, Super dies through the False Promise, but now Setsu rotates in. Cold Snap Spirit Vessel, but not quite enough. And Fly, nice stun with the Ink Swirl. This will mean Setsu has overextended on the Invoker and does give a kill away to the Dragon Knight. In fact, they may even find more if Monet intends to stick around, but he has backed off.
I love these wards coming out from IG. It just allows them to get these counter fights going. They have really good vision on map. You do have some decent counter vision from RNG, but doesn't really manage to scout out the Invis here, especially by that tower. They didn't expect that commitment from IG to come out, and kind of bites them where it hurts. They don't lose their Terrorblade. They lose Setsu, which is pretty darn big still. He's the guy buying all the space for this Terrorblade. You will have to kind of temper how far you push yourself, especially while these tier 1s are still up.
September, Walrus Punch, Kaka, Fortune's End will fly out. It's so much damage from these 2 supports. They will leave it at that. Top lane, Fly has his Shadow Blade up and is looking to be aggressive, but it does wear off. He goes for the outpost, and IG, they may try to force in this top tier 2 tower, as they do have the Dragon form up in about 5 seconds. And yeah, Fly pops it, immediately wants to get some damage out. You know, these are great trades for IG, considering that there's not one tier 1 down yet for RNG. They haven't found anything.
Yeah, they really started to limit the map from RNG, although they are starting to posture to counterfight, but these are highly durable targets. You're going to need Setsu to get the perfect control
Arrow.
off to get...
So they're on September. There's going to be no follow-up.
Yeah, that's enough to force IG off the push, and RNG does take this opportunity to try to smoke up. They need to find a really big target. I'd say Emo is really what they want, but he's just way too far off. It's a hard fight into these 2 tanky heroes with only 1 Spirit Vessel charge in Setsu.
Well, the smoke's going to be broken. They know they're in this somewhere, and they do get Ollie. It's not exactly the target they wanted, but they may have to just settle for it. If they find anyone else, September, he was looking. But he will just take the bounty, and he will back off.
The prize is mine.
That'll give 3... In fact, no, it's still going to be 2 bounties to the way of RNG, so they don't actually get really much of an advantage out of that.
And they just keep things even. I think right now that's really the story of the game. It's a 3k advantage for IG on net worth, but RNG is getting a lot more from the Terrorblade than you'd expect. Not as much as the Morphling, mind you. It's a considerable gap, but Monet is not really at the point where you'd say he's shut down as a TB. He's working towards his Manta style, just a bit away from that ultimate orb, which should help him survive a bit more.
Back up. Dragon form's going to be popped again. They do spot out Flywin.
Radiant's bottom tower is under
They
attack.
will not try for that kill. Instead, they do go onto September, but immediate snowball and Walrus Punch. And now the disarm is there on the Dragon Knight. He's falling very, very quickly, but the Inkswell will allow him to walk away, though no. Setsu hits the Tornado, does clean up the kill, and Emo also goes down to the EMP damage. And Kaka now getting caught by the Rolling Thunder of Flywin. And they just died so fast to the damage that was coming out of Setsu.
I'm really surprised Emo joined that fight. He was on full Agi as well. Like, he doesn't have his Manta style up yet. I figured they'd wait for Emo to finish that up before they have the Morphling join in. Instead, he pops in, doesn't respect the damage output from RNG. Immediately, he literally just got deleted. Like, the moment he popped in, the tornado lands. Everything else was there to follow up. And just all Agi. I guess this is why you don't walk into a fight all Agi with you know, with no stat items up yet.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
RNG now taking the net worth lead for themselves.
Shadows, take us.
September having a look for somebody. Fly, he is in that moonlight shadow at the moment. Fly. Knows there's a sentry there, but he has been jumped. Setsu has a tornado. Will save September for now. And Fly is starting to drop low. They get that Walrus Punch off with the snowball now. Just moving forward with the shards. He's still trapped up on this DK. Do they have the damage though? He's still taking through all of it. Now Rolling Thunder from Flywood, but it's already over. We do have the TB joining the fight, however. Emo, he's starting to fall on this Morphling with the Cold Snap holding him down. It's going to be too much. Oh, that is not the hero you wanted to lose if you were IG. You would have rather given the DK away.
They keep having Emo join these fights when he really shouldn't on the morph. I mean, Monet jumps in, sure. Like, he has Metamorphosis up, though. And, yeah, he doesn't have too many items up. He only has the Manta. But that's already ahead of what Emo had. And remember, Emo was #1 net worth for a while. For a very long time. Monet has just caught up simply because Emo has been forced to join these fights by his team.
EMP gonna connect. Ingswell not gonna help him out this time. Setsu picks up another kill. And this has to be one of the most effective invokers I've seen in a very, very long time.
Yeah, Setsu's just been on point, constantly active. We talked about RNG needing a playmaker hero. He has been around the map. I think this is really highlighting how much you can do with proper coordination and with less farm reliance on the invoker. He's just super active very early on, JT.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
He's been caught out. It's just that Spirit Vessel just ruining these tanky cores that IG picked up. He will be forced to stampede to get out of that.
Tower is under attack.
And I'd hate to kind of pile on IG right now, but you look at Monet, he's going to have an Eye of Skadi coming up relatively soon. He already has one Ultimate Orb. The Eye of Skadi plus that Vessel Aura, it's just so much against the heroes that IG have picked up. And we talked about this in the draft phase, where they picked up these heavily reliant heroes that do really rely on being able to lifesteal or regen their HP quite quickly. And it's... the counters are there.
What I don't get from IG is we're seeing that same issue with itemization. We're not seeing a Spirit Vessel coming out from any of your heroes. Kaka is going for the offensive Yules, which is fine, but no one with a Spirit Vessel means your Oracle is getting so much value, your Terrorblade is getting so much value. The sustainability from RNG is off the roof, and they're counteracting your sustainability on a Morphling and DK hard with just these item pickups. And you're not seeing IG counteract in the same way. It's just kind of puzzling that RNG is just allowed to sustain themselves like this.
September. Gonna break the smoke. JT goes for the hoof stomp, and immediate rotations coming in, and now Emo joins the fight, but Super, he's so quick with the false promise, and now Monet pops the meta. September has died. They are all alone right now. They need more help. Super also dies, and RNG, they're gonna lose a lot here unless they get in here ASAP. Soulbind gonna stop the Pangolier from rolling anywhere, and they have got the Terrorblade controlled up. And that was the team fight they were looking for. And it was a real shame for RNG because I believe Setsu was actually TPing to the fountain as that fight had first started breaking out. So he had no way of getting in there.
It's a big win for IG, and just the timing of that was very fortunate. I'm not sure if they were aware that the TP of Setsu was just blown, but that's a big opportunity. When you don't have that Invoker to set everything up for you, the equation kind of falls apart. It's not balanced, and IG uses this opportunity to go straight into the Roche pit and clears out just freely.
They do. And now IG kind of taking that net worth control back their way. It wasn't too high the way of RNG anyway, but any little bit helps for IG. They are going for an Ethereal Blade on the Morphling. And that should be quite effective in really bursting down these supports. So Kaka,
Spoil that shot.
he's got leap charges. He feels safe.
I still somewhat worry about the E-Blade on the Morphling simply because Super's just so on point, right? Like, you're not going to blow him up because he's going to false promise, and if you're going to jump someone else, if Super's around, Fate's Edict will just come out. So, it's really down to who Emo jumps first. Of course, they are going to be relying on that burst damage to get the numbers advantage in these fights.
Dire's top tower is under
Bot lane, they are going to push the tier 2 and directly trade with the tier 2 going down top. So Kaka caught out. He does not have any more leaps.
Dire's top tower is falling.
And RNG, they may force more. In fact, they don't have meta, so they probably won't, but they'll throw some TB illusions, and no, they will. Just for a little bit, trying to force IG back towards their base. Monet will have the Metamorphosis up in about 20 seconds from now. Flywin? Rolling Thunder, who have they found? It's gonna be the Centaur JT getting caught out, and they have control there with Flywin. The Soulbind will stop him from moving. Fly trying to fight back with his BKB now. Setsu, he's the main priority target they want, and they are going to find the Invoker just before the Ghost Walk was available. And now they also find the Terrorblade. RNG have overstayed their welcome, and they do get kicked out of the house by IG. The rest of RNG now just going to leave.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
That's a really strange fight to force out for RNG. Like they fight without blowing the Metamorphosis at all, but it's really starting to play into IG's hands here. Playing into that higher ground, being kind of forced to chase the Centaur in a very odd angle in a completely different lane. It kind of took away the potency of their threat and push. They split up the team, but RNG was pretty split up as well with that intent, and not quite enough time to catch up. Super blew his false promise on himself, so he couldn't quite save the Invoker, which does cost him. Of course, the Terrorblade taking the hit as well, and that does give IG back a bit of a gold swing, and this should buy them the time and space they need. I believe Emo is just around 500 gold away from the E-Blade, so that's going to be a key item pickup for him.
Kaka in a bit of trouble again. EMP, Rolling Thunder. He does leap away. September has the shards, and Flywin does get him eventually. You don't mind too much if you're IG at this point. Like, it's just creating a bit of space and makes you feel a little bit safer knowing some abilities are going to be on cooldown for a little bit. I don't think RNG really want to take a full-scale team fight anyway, up until that Eye of Skadi's completely up.
Yeah, it's almost there. I mean, he's just about 600 gold away on that as well. So we're going to be seeing pretty similar timings for the E-Blade and the Scotty coming out. Of course, I do think the E-Blade should be flying in, and
There
it's
it
up and
is.
running on Emo. So he has his burst damage. This should be IG's opportunity to try to find something while that Scotty's not up yet.
Radiant structures
Oh, there's the Scotty now.
Sanaba.
Really close timings from both sides. I think IG will try to... Ooh, Roche
Uh-oh.
timer.
Thank you for that, Monet. IG with the smoke and Moonlight Shadow, but RNG realized something might be wrong here, and they all quickly back off. You really don't want to take a big team fight and lose any heroes when you haven't got buyback on heroes like the Terrorblade. You just bought
It's
out.
really good game sense coming out from RNG, just knowing that. I'm not sure if they actually smoked under the ward in the mid lane as well. That might have played a factor in it for RNG to know. Either way, they do waste that smoke, although Fly does spot September, but don't think he can really do anything about that.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
You may want to wait if you fly anyway, because you're so close to getting to that level 3 Dragonfall mark. You may not want to take a team fight before that.
Radiant's bottom tower is under
And
attack.
he's going to end up TPing bot to defend the tier 3 tower, which is currently under siege. Aegis, however, does expire on Emo, so you're not going to have that available any longer. Meanwhile, Kaka looking for Setsu. And Setsu runs straight underneath the sentry ward with that Ghost Walk, but Ollie will not have the control to stop him. And have they found somebody else? It is going to be JT. The Cold Snap going to be there from Setsu. He has no Spirit Vessel charges, but perhaps the Aura and Eye of Skadi will be enough anyway. It's JT just continually getting stunned up, and yeah, they definitely have enough.
It's a very necessary kill for RNG, just giving Setsu back some charges so they can start these fights a bit easier with the Cold Snap combination coming out. Just a lot of an easier time for Setsu to set up for himself, and this should allow RNG to take that top tier 1 freely, and they will. No contestation coming out from IG, of course. That area is pretty dead, although they wouldn't want to freely give their tier 2 away, which is, I think, when they'd probably step up, but they are still fairly scattered out.
They may just go for a trade. Like, Flyfly has popped the Dragon Form and is down at the bot lane. He doesn't go for the tier 2. He's not willing to risk his own life. Dragon Form was getting pretty low time anyway, so didn't really have much time left on it. RNG, they do focus down that top tier 2. That's going to leave one outer tower left for IG now, and that's just that mid tier 2.
It gives RNG a lot more leeway to play deep in this jungle. They aren't really set up for it. They don't have the best vision and map to play in this triangle right now, and they don't even have the best of wards in that bot jungle as well. So they're gonna have to correct that if they want to play a bit further forward. They do have good wards for maybe baiting someone in a lane, but beyond that, they have limited space for playing around these wards. Compare that to where IG has their ward, really far forward and in really good spots where you'd expect the Dire side to camp out. This will allow IG, if they do pop a smoke, a lot more room in their smokes and a lot more information that can be useful in spotting these heroes out.
You do also have now a new BKB on Emo, so they may want to try and go for something here. Monet is going to show himself mid lane. They do smoke up. Moonlight Shadow has been popped as well. They want to make full use of this surprise BKB. Oh, RNG, they don't want to fight this uphill. Fly. Knows that there's somewhere. Monet may get stunned up here, and they do with the Dragon Tail. Can they save him? False Promise will be there in time. Super was so quick on that Ethereal. The Soulbind will hold them in, however, but the Rolling Thunder is kind of making it hard to run up the hill, and now Emo trying to fight back.
Ooh.
Monet goes down. JT also losing his life, but September, he goes down as the secondary. They lose Ollie on the Grimstroke and Setsu. Do you want to turn onto Kaka? It's probably not worth it. A 2-for-2 trade, but IG importantly find that Terrorblade kill, and that'll open up the map a bit more for them now.
A lot of this is down to the fact that RNG, Monet on that Terrorblade, he originally queued up a BKB. He was trying to go for it. He realized that he wanted to greed out, go for the butterfly instead. The added damage and control that IG's leveraging onto this Terrorblade every single time means it's very hard for him to get the Sunder off. He hasn't even used it. Like, he had the False Promise on, but he could not Sunder because he wasn't quite sure about the threshold. And so he's just not finding that durability you'd expect from a Terrorblade. That kind of playing around, juggling your HP is not there from Monet. BKB would help him stand and do that much easier without completely relying on their Oracle. There would be more leeway for Super to cast that False Promise, but he's going to have to finish this Butterfly first now. Oh.
Emo, just going to get the Morph on Monet. That's really all he wanted by the looks of it. Reflection does a lot of damage to Emo. But he sees Super. Fate's Edict will save. More importantly, however, IG are going to be able to scout out this new Roshan that pops up. And they start to set up for that Roshan pit. RNG, I don't think they can actually let this go down. Like, they need to fight this.
No, they definitely need to. They can't afford to have 2 lives on something like Emo. It's just getting really hard to control that morph. They're running out of options there. The leash has been really hurting their Pangoliers initiation.
They scattered it out way too late. Setsu, the only thing he does, he just pushes out that bot lane. And that'll be the end of that. Gives the Alacrity over the siege creep, but Kaka does get it with the arrow. And IG great positioning from them now with an Aegis cheese up. Monet does finish his butterfly, but you definitely don't really want to have to fight into this Aegis of Emo.
Ah, they smoke up though. They're gonna try to find a pick off, I suppose.
They do find JT, but he Lotus Orbs the Spirit Vessel off. Still, you have the Warrior's Punch now. He needs to commit Stampede if he wants to live, but I don't think he will. He's in the Snowball, but he gets the Blink off just in time. And now the full-scale T-Pipe begins the DK. He's going to be the main target as the Shards do latch, but the arrow comes out from Karka onto the Terrorblade. False Promise will save him for a while. He's thinking about Sundering, but he will not. Emo copying a lot of damage here, but he goes on, and Monet just melts to the damage of Emo. And they also take down Flywood. Now Setsu gonna get out of there. Arrow will not latch onto the Terrorblade, but doesn't matter. Super goes down on the Oracle. And I guess the idea was they thought they could just really finish off JT quick, but they snowballed while JT had the Lotus Orb up. And so it put JT in the snowball and gave him time to get a blink off.
It's way too early on popping that snowball coming from RNG. It looked like the Lotus Orb was actually just about to fade when they finally launch in, and it just kind of ruins that initiation. In one sense though, RNG did have the Pangolier fly loose, so if they actually managed to get that leash on the Pangolier and leash him into another hero, I think that fight would have been way worse for RNG. You would have probably lost Setsu in the middle of it. Really starting to see the weaknesses in Monet's item build-up with that butterfly. He cannot he cannot tank through the damage Emo's pumping out. He does switch up to the BKB, but, you know, it's going to be a slow build-up as Setsu. Ooh.
Oh, that's a big kill. Setsu has no way out of that. And it really does go back to this BKB not being picked up on the Terrorblade. He can't do anything. He just constantly needs to be saved by Super. We'll see if they can get a defense going. Because at least your Reflection does a lot of damage to Emo, but that wears off. And now Monet gets jumped on again. Emo feeling confident. He takes down the backline, so Super is dead. He will buy it back as well as Setsu buying back. Now Emo, he's falling low. It's not really low enough though. He'll lifesteal all of that back up. And where is Setsu? They put him in the snowball and dragged him forward. So Monet... Oh, he's been... Yeah, that snowball again just ends up kind of costing them the racks, and that's going to be the game. He tried to save him, but the target... Unfortunate.
RNG... It looked like they had the timings, it looked like they were getting the space. They never really shut Emo down. They let that Morphling get big. Sure, they found him a couple of times, but the timings were already being hit. The counterplay coming out from RNG's draft wasn't quite up to par this time. Super was forced to false promise himself multiple times. Monet really should have lived instead, and they capitalized on this Terrorblade Oracle, and it just kind of fell apart from there.
Well, that'll at least give us a game 3 between these two. IG versus Royal Never Give Up will be coming up for the third game in just about 5 minutes. It is MLP Dota on JohnXFire. We'll see you as soon as that second game draft is available.